and they want to know a little bit about what you do, how you got there to this senior position. I think you have been CEOs, managing directors, group functions as well. And they wanted to know how you got there and any challenges that you faced along the way. So over to you, Raja Teh.
Oh, hi, Jade. People ask me this often. I never really had any plans to get to where I am today. But I started out as a very young executive in CIMB. What happened in the 1990s was it was, quite cowboy town in capital markets. So I started on the equity side. And then we were hit by the Asian financial crisis.
Okay.
So during the Asian financial crisis, when that happened, we were literally out of a job because, all equity capital market activities were halted. Yeah. But I was asked to, that I'd like to be seconded to Dana Harta. So I said, okay. I knew nothing about, I didn't do credit at that point in time, knew nothing about recovery and asset management. And that really threw me the end of the water of learning credit the most difficult way, learning what not to do. So, yeah. And then I came back to CIMB, then we moved and then we expanded our business into the debt capital market since equity had started to, got soft. Again, didn't know anything, just kind of like went in head first and just did it. So during that time, about 2000, early 2000, there was conversations about Islamic banking and people were talking about Islamic banking. And I looked at it and I thought, I think this is kind of going to grow big. But as an investment banker at that point in time, when I said that I want to start learning a little bit about this, no one was going to give me, time of the day because there was this whole investment banking, not quite congruous with the concept of ethical Islamic banking. So I was in RHB at that time and I was running an IPO for a client and I did the IPO roadshow, covered the Middle East. When I came back, I got a job offer in Bahrain and it was an Islamic investment bank. And I thought, this is the only way I can learn how to do this. Everyone thought I was mad because, people were like, where is Bahrain? And do you know anything about Islamic banking? And I said, no, I don't know. But that's the whole thing, right? So I thought, I knew nothing, but packed my bags, packed my kids, had a child on the way even there. Yeah. And learned, I guess, from the best and, the scholars that I learned from. And it was a continuous journey again. Then when I came back to Malaysia, I was asked to help set up an Islamic commodity trading platform in Bursa. Jade, I've never done any form of commodity trading at that point in time in my life. Again, was like, okay, go for it, So, and after I had finished my contract and we rolled it out, by the way, the platform is called Bursa Suk Al Sila. It trades between 15 to 20 billion ringgit daily average per day today and is used by all the Islamic banks in the country and has also been used by Islamic banks outside Malaysia. Then I was asked to join Hong Leong. There was a story behind that, but I went initially was, so I was asked to run the Islamic bank. So again, there was this Hong Leong Islamic, some kind of incongruence there. And that started my foray into digital banking. Because I found that, that was one way of me selling what I needed to do to get that bank running was to look at digital solution. So I embarked on my digital journey early on in 2012. By 2013, I think I was talking so much about it that the chairman said, why don't you run it?
Okay.
I became head of digital innovation for the Hong Leong Group. So in essence, and then I am now in Ambank, and I've come one whole circle to run the wholesale franchise, culminating in almost all the various disciplines within wholesale. But I also wanted to say, when I was in the Middle East, I was running funds. I was running things like real estate funds, shipping funds, things I've never done before. In short, when people ask me how I got to where I am today, I think it was because I was just adventurous.
Yeah,
And
true.
I took life as one big adventure, and I was never turned off, or I was never put off by the boundaries of what I knew at that point in time.
Yep.
There was a lot. Every time I moved to do something else, actually, I knew very little of that of that discipline. But it was the curious mind, maybe the insatiable appetite to learn about something new, and having a little bit of courage to venture into the unknown. And I possibly may think the one, the one thing that probably got me to where I am here today is tenacity lah. I was just tenacious in trying to figure out how to do things, coupled with, of course, belief and very strong faith in God that, at the end of the day, He has to help me through, and the support I have by my teammates. So that's the other thing. You cannot reach, you cannot climb up without people holding the ladder for you. It just doesn't work that way. So, right. So the pyramid structure, if I don't have that kind of strong support that I do in my pyramid, I wouldn't be here. And of course, I'm sitting here, but, I represent actually all of those people who've actually held the ladder up for me. So that was it. And I also want to say very briefly, I mean, to the ladies out there, when people started asking me questions about how, women making it in this industry, and then I was posed a question with regards to glass ceiling. And I remember this question was maybe posed to me about 10 years ago. And I honestly, hand on to heart, didn't know what they were talking about. I kind of had to Google up what is glass ceiling about. And because of that, I'd like to say that, don't look up towards something that's not there.
Yeah,
it can be self-fulfilling, right? If you think there's something limiting you, then it will limit you.
True.
If you think that men will limit you, who says there are no women who might limit you? Who says there are no men who would facilitate your rise?
True.
So, we kind of really have to do away with what a lot of us perceive as gender, discrimination within our workplaces, because it's hard even for men to make it up.
Yeah, true.
So it's just hard for everybody, right? So don't look up to something that isn't there, So
I think you sum it up very well, Raja Teh. I mean, the first thing I know when I met you, there is never a boundary. I mean, it's always pushing it, right? And if I remember when I worked with you, if I say I can do A, you say, why not A plus B plus C plus D, all right? And it's always pushing that. And you always push this as well as say, oh, you say cannot do, but somebody else can do. You see, so this can do, and why cannot do? So I think that really pushes the boundary and everybody around you to it. And you also never stop, and it's quite amazing. You say, oh, this can be done, and then a few months later, it's done. And you tell people, oh, we can make this number. And everybody looks at you, keeps quiet, and then, oh, suddenly you made that number, right? So it's very refreshing, right? And the other thing I noticed, and I would share with the audience, is that you really treat your people well, all right? I mean, I think you take them on team building, you bring them out, you celebrate the wins. I think all those are really good, right? And excuse me. And people like you for it, and people respect you for it, and they work for you. I think, and when you say something can be done, people follow you and actually get it done, which is quite amazing, right?
Because I really cannot do half of the things I would like to do if it weren't for them. So, and I think building towards, especially when you talk about female leadership, we are very blessed is that the way we're designed, we should harness our maternal instincts rather than trying to become, a ball breaking man. We don't have to. And winning people over nurturing, I believe that nurturing can go a lot further. Of course, you can crack the whip, but you continuously having to crack the whip, and after a while the horse would just, kind of give up.
And yeah.
Yeah, but if you nurture and allow that person to grow and believe in your cause and believe in your journey, then, my wish is I can work little hours and let my whole team run
Yeah.
the business, but they must believe in that journey.
Yeah.
And it's true, people say it's cliche that you spend so much time with your colleagues and therefore you should really be like family. So the thing is, it's not cliche, and it is true. Don't pay lip service to that. It is true. They are your family, because this is one thing I keep telling my team, is that we eat from the same pot of rice. We do. We do. So who is to say that, oh, my relationship with you at work stops when I go home? It doesn't, because we eat from the same pot of rice.
True.
The effort that we put in, then we can share. The more effort we put in, the more we share.
True.
Right? And so there is very little of this, I'm just going to do my bit,
Yeah.
and you just go do your bit. But, at the end of the day, I always tell them I have to serve from the same pot.
Yeah, true. And I think it's very good advice to tell people as well that there is no glass ceiling, and you go as far as you think you can go, right? And the sky is the limit. And imposing limits to yourself, that's really self-defeating, right? So I think that's the other bit, right? You you don't give a heck to anybody. Nobody stops you, all right? And I think that's what makes you special, and you get to where you are today because of these three very powerful qualities, right? And I'm
Maybe
sure
I was naive too. Maybe the whole glass ceiling worked for me was because I was naive. I was like, I was either, blind to this, or I was naive. But it is something that I keep having to repeat to all women out there. Really don't limit yourself, because it can be self-fulfilling, and that you shouldn't stop yourself. Of course, wherever you go, there will always be people that work with you, people that work against you. But there's also this concept about how people think that the grass is always greener on the other side. I always say that every playground would have bits and pieces of brown grass, brown patch, everywhere. So you just have to water those brown patches. But again, that doesn't mean that you see something else that you want to try. You should, and you must be brave. So don't, because I notice as an employer, right? If I have a job to be done, and I ask a guy and a girl, and the guy with 50% of the technical ability will put up his hand and say, I can do it. And the woman with 100% technical ability will not put her hand up. So the guy's like, I can do it, even though he doesn't quite able to. I also want to say to the girls out there, believe in yourself. And life, like I said, is one big adventure. And adventure begins at the edge of your comfort zone. If you're going to stay on your sofa, you're never going to go out on an adventure. You got to get up and go out and look for these things. And yeah, be brave. What's the worst can happen? It doesn't work out, and then you can always go look for something else. But you would have seen something that you would never have experienced before. Isn't that great?